Hi, welcome back to Caterpillar Summer as we read chapters 17 and 18. Even in the soft morning light, Macon was still the most rectangular person she had ever met, blocky and solid. He stood on the deck waiting for her. Cat moved quickly and silently down the stairs. It would be their first morning fishing. When Macon saw her, he smiled. Good, the early bird gets the worm, and the early worm gets the fish, and all that. In the driveway, Macon divided the gear between their bikes, and together they rode to the bait shop. Macon held the door for Cat. Howdy, Macon, said Dean. It was the same man who had given Cat and Harriet the anchovies. This is my granddaughter Cat, said Macon. She's with us for a bit this summer. Dean nodded. She takes after her mama, doesn't she? That's a good thing, Cat. You don't want to look like this old bird. Macon laughed. She and I are more alike than you know. Did you know this one here's been teaching herself to fish, along with the help of little Miss Harriet Kincaid? Dean winked. I may have seen the two of them around the pier. Are you going to give that John Harvey a run for his money? I hope to, said Cat. That's the spirit, said Dean. Glad you're teaching her, Macon. That's one of the benefits of being a grandfather. What can I help y'all with today? Dean and Macon had a long discussion about shrimp, anchovies, and finger mullet. Cat drifted over to the rack of sunglasses. Macon opened the door. Ready, Cat? They walked into the pier. Macon paused. Do you have a favorite place? We move around. We haven't found a lucky spot yet, said Cat. Sometimes you can make your own luck. He pointed to a cluster of birds flying over the water. Why do you think they're all hanging around? That was easy. The birds on the beach were interested in one thing. Food, said Cat. Atta girl, said Macon. They moved closer to the gulls. Macon unwrapped the package from the bait store and emptied it into the bucket. When Cat looked, she was surprised to see shrimp, live ones. Macon added a frozen water bottle to the bucket. They like cooler temperatures, he explained. Depending on how long we'll be here, we may have to change their water. Don't let me forget. He was careful with the little creatures, and Cat liked that. He tied the fishing line to her hook, and he pointed out a few adjustments to her knots. Before the contest, Cat thought fishing sounded easy. Talking with Mason made her realize there was so much more to learn. Macon picked up a squirming shrimp. I'll hook the first one for you. He pointed out a dark area on the shrimp's head. Never go through here. This is the brain. Push the hook through this spiky part on the top, which is called the horn. Macon slowly moved the hook through to the shrimp's tail. For as big as his fingers were, they were surprisingly light and careful. Cat easily imagined the same hands doing surgery, sewing people up and helping them. Why do you hook it there? She asked. Shrimp kick backward when they are fleeing from a predator, so this gives it a more natural look. Plus, in my experience, it stays on better. The fish we're trying for is called a sheephead, one of the trickiest bait-stealing fish in these waters. Cat's eyes widened. She couldn't catch a regular fish. Oops. Let me see. She couldn't catch a regular fish. And now he wanted her to catch a clever one. It seemed impossible. He laughed at her expression. Don't worry, you've got a fighting chance. The fish love to hang out here near the pier. The pilings create little nooks and crannies the fish love. Let your line go straight down, even underneath the pier if you can. Cat liked how he explained things. He didn't treat her like a little kid, but he didn't act like she was already supposed to know what to do. Macon fastened a pyramid-shaped sinker on the line. If you ever see a patch of cloudy water, aim for it. The fish will fight each other to get that bait. They spent some time in peaceful silence. That was the side-by-side time Cat wanted so much. They felt like a team working together. She hoped they would catch a fish. It didn't have to be a tricky one. Anything would do. Her line tugged and whirled. Cat froze, looking at Macon. Get one? He asked. I think so. His voice was calm, slow and steady. Cat turned the crank. She couldn't believe how strong the fish was. He's putting up a big fight, Macon said. You can do it, Cat. The fish rose out of the water, wiggling and twisting, the scales glinting in the morning sun as she reeled it in. Finally, it reached the edge of the railing and she pulled it onto the pier. I did it! Macon removed the hook. The fish had bold vertical stripes all along its sides. Good job, he said to Cat. Got 'em in without breaking the line. That's not easy. This is a sheephead, also called a convict fish. See the stripes? Now what? Cat asked. We can release it or we can eat it, said Macon. And I think a fisherman has a duty to eat her first fish. Besides, this fella is good eating. Cat nodded. Macon, can we fish a little more before we head back? The owners of Macon's mouth twitched up. Of course, whatever you like. They fished for a while longer and caught a bluefish, but they let it go. The sheep's head would be their lunch. Not bad for a few hours of fishing. Go on home, Macon told her. I'll clean it. They're a pain to clean. I'll be after you in a bit. Cat pedaled to the house, cool air whipping her face until it stung. Her heart soared. She replayed the moment she felt the pull on the line. Landing it was a struggle, but she'd done it. Things were turning around with fishing. Things were turning around with the whole summer. Cat exploded inside the kitchen door. I got 2 fish. Yay, Cat, said Chicken. Lily got up from her sofa. Wonderful, Cat. What kind? A bluefish and a sheep's head, she said. She looked at Chicken. You'd like sheephead, Chicken. It's striped. Cat turned back to Lily. We released the bluefish, but Macon is cleaning the sheephead down at the pier. We'll have to have it for lunch then. Lily peered inside the pantry. I'm at a cornmeal. Are you up for a trip to Willis General? Sure, said Cat. Chicken, you want to go with me? Chicken thought for a moment. Or you can stay and help me make lunch, offered Lily. Chicken nodded. I want to stay. Cat kept her surprise to herself and took the stairs 2 at a time to the driveway. Chicken liked cooking with Lily. She was glad for them to have their special thing like she had with Macon. Cat decided to take her bite. She was so excited she could practically fly. Finally, and not just 1 fish, but 2. Cat went downstairs for her bite, then rode downtown. Her hand still felt the sensation of fish pulling on the line. Maybe she'd bump into Harriet and could tell her the news right away. She leaned her bike in the alley around the corner from Willis General and pushed open the glossy green door. Hey there, Cat, said Miss Willis. Hi, Miss Willis. Let me know if you need anything. Cat took the long way to the food aisle. She smelled several bars of soap, sidestepped a display overflowing with bouncing balls, and examined some dangling spider plants before she found the shelf with cornmeal. She carried it up to the counter. Miss Willis gave Cat the total. Your grandma's making cornbread? It's for my fish, said Cat. I caught 2 this morning. Hooray! Miss Willis sounded genuinely happy from her. Are you excited for the contest? Cat nodded. My grandpa said he's going to teach me every day. I love that, said Miss Willis. Say hi to your grandma for me. As Cat walked back to the alleyway, she realized she had called Macon her grandpa. The word came out easily, like it had been hers for a long time. The thought made her happy, but then she saw her bike. At first, she didn't recognize it. The paint was no longer lemon yellow, it was brown. A layer of mud covered every inch of the frame and seat. The flowered basket hung crookedly. Circling around the bike, Kat stopped suddenly. The Amanda license plate was missing. She checked the ground to see if it had fallen or been thrown to the side, but it wasn't there. Someone had stolen it. Kat stalked to the main street, saw a tourist family and a woman with a jogging stroller. She walked another block, turned a corner, and came face to face with Harriet. Harriet's big grin faded quickly. "What's wrong?" "Come see," said Kat through clenched teeth. They walked back to the bike. Harriet gasped. "Oh, no, your beautiful bike. And your basket's all cattywampus." Kat tried to straighten it, but it was stuck at an odd angle. She felt like throwing the cornmeal sack against the wall. Suddenly, Harriet let out a low whistle. "Are you thinking what I'm thinking?" Kat said. "Do you mean who you're thinking?" "Kat, look." From the puddle in the alleyway, a row of paw prints led to the street. Paw prints of a familiar size. "Dixie," breathed Kat. "Where are you hiding, John Harvey?" bellowed Harriet. "I'm about to cloud up and rain on you." Kat frowned. "Wait." Harriet clenched her fist. "I'm not afraid to fight him. I don't want to fight him, at least not that way." Harriet's eyes shined. "How then?" "The contest," said Kat. Harriet looked doubtful. "No offense, Kat, but you haven't caught anything yet." "That changed today," said Kat. "Macon took me and I caught two." "If you win, it'll hurt him where it counts," said Harriet. For the first time, Kat could see herself winning. She couldn't wait to see the look on John Harvey's face when she walked away with the trophy. She said goodbye to Harriet and wheeled her bike home. After giving Lily the cornmeal, Kat went downstairs and found rags, soap, and a bucket. She was lugging the heavy bucket when Macon came down the white wooden staircase. "Your grandmother's cooking the fish." Kat started scrubbing. "Good." Macon regarded her for a minute and then picked up a rag. He dunked it in the soapy water and wiped the handlebars. "Bike need a wash?" "Yep." "That's a lot of mud on there." "Yep." Kat scrubbed a stubborn bit of dirt. "Must have been some puddle," he said. Kat looked at the ground. She didn't want to think she hadn't taken care of her beautiful yellow bike. "It looked like this when I came out of Willis General." "That's a shame," said Macon. Kat nodded and didn't say anything else because she wasn't a tattler. Little by little, they wiped away at the mud, and the bike returned to its former gleaming state. Lily called down the stairs that lunch was ready. Macon didn't mention the missing license plate. Neither did Kat. Now for Chapter 18. That next morning, Kat and Mason fished for hours and released them all. She was barely in the door when Chicken ran to her, almost knocking her down. "Chicken, what's going on?" He hoisted a large envelope in the air. "Mama's practice book came." "Oh, it did? How exciting. Did you look at it already?" He shook his head. "He insisted on waiting for you," said Lily. "We always look at them together," said Kat, "but I'm sandy from digging on the beach. Can you wait for me to get washed off? I'll be right back down." He narrowed his eyes. "How many minutes? 8?" His eyes got narrower. "Okay, 5. 3. He nodded and eyed the kitchen clock. Kat raced upstairs, knowing he would hold her to the time limit. She was actually excited to see this one. Mom hasn't shown her much of it, but she remembered that it was something about hats. When she came back downstairs, Chicken was sitting crisscross by the living room window. She sat next to him on the floor and pulled the review copy of Mom's new book out of the envelope. Chicken and Caterpillar were on the front cover. "The best hats," read Chicken. "Do you want me to read it or should I?" asked Kat. "Yeah, you do it," he said, squishing up next to her. The story began with Kat and Chicken on a bus heading to a hat store where a big sale was taking place. After the first page, she stopped in surprise. When she read the title, she assumed it would be Chicken who get the best hat, but she was wrong. It was Caterpillar who had saved her money and couldn't wait to pick out the perfect hat. She looked adorable holding her tiny pocketbook. Finally, Caterpillar was going to do something for herself instead of saving the day for someone else. Caterpillar tried on a bunch of different hats. Finally, she decided on a funny one with the long chin straps. The drawing of Caterpillar beaming in her new hat made Caterpillar grin. The hat looked like one Cat had in 4th grade. But then Chicken showed up at the hat shop. He looked at Caterpillar, who was wearing her new hat. "It's a nice hat," he said, "but," Cat frowned, "but my beak is cold." So what does she do? "Caterpillar, this book is so funny," he gasped. "Yeah, funny." Cat pushed it aside. Chicken picked it up. "Can we read it again?" Why don't you read it to me this time?" He took the pages and started reading out loud. Cat lowered herself to the floor and lay down next to Chicken. He put his fingers in her hair. She closed her eyes as she listened to him read. Suddenly he shook her shoulder. "Are you awake?" "Yeah, I'm just thinking." "You can't see the pictures if your eyes are closed," he pointed out. She opened her eyes. "I remember what they look like." "Well, don't you like Mama's book?" Chicken sounded impatient. "I feel bad for Caterpillar." Chicken held up the book. "There aren't any cookies, no symbols." Cat rubbed her eyes and stretched. She was tired. Maybe she had too much sun. "Don't worry, Chicken. I think it's a great book." "I'm not worried," said Chicken. "When Chicken is happy, Caterpillar is happy. Chicken's job is being happy, and Caterpillar's job is making him happy." This was exactly what Cat was afraid of. She hoped Mom didn't see her as someone who existed just to make Chicken happy. She had her own thoughts, her own ideas, her own things she liked that had nothing to do with Chicken. "You know, it's a book, right?" Cat asked. "It's a made-up story." Chicken ignored her. "Lily, did you hear Mama's book?" "I did," said Lily, looking up from her papers. "I want to show it to Macon." He went upstairs. "It's a book, just a book." Cat kept telling herself that, hoping it would start to seem like the truth. And tune in next time for part 2, Answers and Questions.